We have a lot of questions coming up that are dealing with a core issue of gender relations. And there was a talk earlier today by Shad Imam about gender relations. But I think it's important to let the parents know that this is real issues. Whether your youth talk to you about it or not, they may be dealing with it. And any youth that is in a high school or in college will tell you, they'll report back to you that mom, dad, it's crazy out there. But sometimes just because your youth doesn't talk to you about it, your child doesn't speak to you about it, you may think, it's the problem with the rest of the group. So we have questions about whether it's getting married online via Skype, why are boyfriends and girlfriends so bad, especially if both of them are Muslim and they're trying to follow some type of etiquette. Why do parents let boys do things more than girls in Muslim home? What's up with that? So instead of addressing all these questions, what I think is an underlying issue here is just gender relations, and not just that, how the parents deal with their children based on their gender, which is causing a lot of these questions to come up. And if the speakers could both touch on that for maybe 3-4 minutes each. We'll start with you, brother.
So I think we did what we could, I think, for the most part. When we're talking about specifics, look, at the end of the day, don't try to play Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm just going to put it straight up. Don't try to play Allah, or Allah's going to get you. There's so many people that try to dance around the rules. The Quran is the Quran. It's the speech of Allah. At the same time, its interpretation has been preserved and embodied in the tradition and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We cannot come 1400 years later and redefine the Quran. There's qiyas, there's fiqh, there's relevant fatwa, relevant rulings that are given by the scholars to relax certain things that are causing a hardship on the people, but you cannot reinterpret the Quran and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in that regard. It is what it is, in the sense that Allah has put these limits between us. What I would say is this: don't try to play Allah for a fool. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get you. If you try to start off a relationship with that way, I'll just put it to you this way: gender relations. If I was to present you with a piece of chocolate, all right, and I had it wrapped up very nice, and I'm not comparing women to chocolate, and I'm not comparing men to chocolate, although some people would like to refer to themselves that way, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if I was to present you a piece of chocolate and it was wrapped up nice, what's the first thing you're going to ask me? MashaAllah. Fitra, halal, or not halal. That's actually not the answer I usually get. What's in it, right? What kind of chocolate is it? What's in it? Where did it come from? Okay? You're not just going to be like, ooh, that has a nice wrapper. I bet it tastes good. In essence, and again, also I'm not comparing anyone to used cars, but if you go to a used car dealership and you're interested in a car, but the car is a little bit too pricey, what does the used car dealer tell you to do? Take it for a ride. Take it for a ride, right? Why? So that when you come back, although you really can't afford this car, you felt the leather seats, mashallah, you saw the rims, you tested the MP3 radio, and you're going, man, this car is awesome. What is the car dealer trying to get you to do? And what is the person that wraps up the nice piece of candy or whatever it is, something that's cheap in its quality, wraps it up with something nice? What are they trying to get you to do? They're trying to get you to make an emotional decision rather than a rational decision. In essence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the restrictions that He's placed on between genders, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us from making dumb, irrational, emotional decisions with the most important decision after faith that we are ever going to make in our lives. Because people are not the same after marriage. And that's why people are so disappointed after marriage whenever they go all out before marriage. And that's why you have a 54% divorce rate in this country. You guys remember when the whole Aisha Khan thing was happening and you had Nancy Grace put her brother? First of all, she's annoying and I couldn't stand her even before that. So if you watch her, you need to stop. And if you talk to anyone in your family that way, then you need counseling, okay? She's not normal when she talks. But anyway, when she's talking about, in America, we get married because we love each other. They're love marriages. Was it a forced marriage? Was it an arranged marriage? Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us observe hijab in front of each other?
I'm about to go into a lifelong decision here. I'm going to have to bear the consequences of this for my entire life. You are going to be the mother of my children. You're going to be the person I wake up to every single day. I don't want anything that's going to clout my rationale. So Allah allows us to talk. And again, whenever you don't open the doors of what's permissible, people will break through it. You know, and I'm saying this to the uncles and aunties with all due respect, when you tell your kids, you know, beta, I married your mom without ever seeing her, you just scared the trash out of them. You didn't impress them. That's scary, that's frightening, and it's not the sunnah. You should go look at the person that you're going to go marry with hijab and with everything, and at the same time, talk about what's important. Talk about the things that make that relationship important, that's going to make that relationship successful or not, without khalwa, so that you can't start getting flirty and things of that sort. I'm not saying you've got to sit between your parents on each side, and then like, so what's your favorite color? You know, I like Kir. Do you like Ras Malai? You know, none of that. Serious talk about important decisions. Look, I want to work. What are your views on this? What are your views on polygamy? Sisters, ask your husband that. If you want, put a condition on him not to marry a second husband. Not to marry, well, in this country.
I think I should hand it over. Not to marry a second wife. If he's already married to a first husband, that's not a permissible type of muta'addid. But anyway. So you can talk about these things before. Don't come afterwards to the imam 2 weeks later like, my husband says I can't work. My husband says I can't do this. My husband wants to do this. You should have talked to him before. You found out now that your husband smokes. So yes, we talk about what's important. But Allah has protected us with hijab so that we don't make a stupid decision. Please forgive me for my words. Because we got caught up in the whole facade. Oh, mashallah. You know, after 3 hours of sitting in front of the mirror, she looks really, really, really pretty. She's not going to look like that when you wake up I'm going to turn to you guys now. She's not going to look like that when you wake up in the morning. And sisters, your husband is not going to be walking around with his Armani shirt and his hair all gelled up in the house. He's going to be walking around with what's ironically called a wife beater. Okay? But inshallah ta'ala, he's not going to beat you. All right? So Allah protects us. Don't try to play Allah. It's for your own good. It's for your own good. Wallahi, it's for your own good. So I ask Allah to protect all of you. It's hard. We know it's hard. I ask Allah to protect you. And I ask Allah to open the elder generation's hearts to understand the tragedy and the crisis and the hardship that the youth are going through now. But if you use that as an excuse to fail as a young person and ruin your life, and then blame your parents for the rest of your life, yes, they will face Allah with the crime, but you also will face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the crime, and you'll have to live with the consequences of that.